freaking awesome. Welcome into another episode of the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jim Neander. So, that was a great week. Great weekend. What a great slate of 1 o'clock games. Still kind of, coming down from it, honestly. It might have been the most exciting, one time frame of games so far this season. So many great finishes in those games. Tons of fantasy points, back and forth finishes. You got a little bit of everything in that Week 7 finish. Really lots of great games. Just so much fun. Late games, not so much. But then we got that great Sunday night game. Instant classic with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Just freaking awesome, man. Really, though. I'm still buzzing from it. Still got that little bit of adrenaline high from the whole day yesterday. Just what a great day of football. Tons of fun. Another game tonight. Still fantasy games to be won or lost. I know there's lots of games out there that are still on the line. We got, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, Darrell Henderson, some people playing Jared Goff and Tyler Higbee. And then on the Bears side, we got David Montgomery. I know people got Allen Robinson in their lineup. Probably got Jimmy Graham going to decide some games this week. So, hey, to everyone that's got players tonight, we've already gone over the game. Godspeed to you. And hope you bring home those wins, man. So, all right, we're going to get down into the action here in just a couple of minutes. Start breaking down every game as we usually do. Just want to talk about some of the really great performances this past weekend. There really were so many. It was more of a quarterback and a receiver week. A little bit light on the running back and the tight end, great performances, but so many great performances to go around. Justin Herbert, the rookie, just killed it playing Jacksonville. 347 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. 66 yards on the ground, another touchdown. In a lot of formats, he was the league leader on the week for points, and some he wasn't. All depends on how many points per touchdown your league gives. But he was right there, great week. Kyler Murray, came back, big come from behind win in the division to take down undefeated Seattle. 360 yards through the air with 3 touchdowns. Just like Herbert, another 67 yards on the ground with a touchdown. So huge performance. He did have 1 interception there. Tom Brady, the other GOAT. I'm the GOAT A, right? So we'll call Tom Brady the GOAT B. I think that's fair. That definitely makes sense. We're going to go 369 yards passing for Tom Brady with 4 touchdowns through the air. And one of those patented Tom Brady 1-yard rushing touchdowns. So 5 touchdowns combined for Mr. Brady. Another monster performance. Just obviously getting into the swing of things right now with the new team, the new offense. It's like, I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. Give me 5 weeks in a pandemic-shortened off-season, to get my shit together. I haven't had my wide receivers healthy. It's been crazy, right? Gronk's getting into shape, so I think we're starting to see a little bit about what we're going to expect here, and it's not looking good for everybody. Guess what? They just signed Antonio fucking Brown, and let's just get away from the other aspect of it, from a fantasy aspect. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the preview shows, but it's hard to say it doesn't make Tom Brady more dangerous. Joe Burrow, the other great rookie performance here, unfortunately, in a loss, but 406 yards. So he crossed 400 yards first time, 3 touchdowns, 34 yards on the ground, another touchdown. So a bunch of 4 touchdown performances for quarterbacks this week. Russell Wilson, 388 and 3. 3 interceptions for Russ. That was the big story in that game. He also had 84 yards rushing, led to his big point total. But those 3 picks for Russ, that was kind of the difference maker. You had Baker Mayfield with 5 touchdowns through the air in a big win against Cincinnati. Just great performances here. For the running backs, Jeff Wilson unfortunately suffers the injury, probably going on injury reserve, but got in one big game before that happened. 112 yards on the ground. 3 trips to the end zone for Mr. Wilson. A couple of grabs and a few yards, but obviously the touchdowns made it. James Robinson back to top status here. Nice to see that for him as a James Robinson owner. 119 yards on the ground with a touchdown. Another 4 receptions on 6 targets. 18 yards only, but a second touchdown, a beautiful touchdown. I didn't think he had a chance of getting around the corner there and getting to the pylon. Really, it wasn't even that close. He had no problem getting around there and just bouncing off that back foot, leaping towards the goal line. It was really impressive there. We'll add Kamara in here too, just because, only 83 yards on the ground, a little bit bottled up, but another 8 catches on 8 targets, 65 yards, continues to be, one of the most effective weapons out there. So again, a little bit more of a quarterback and wide receiver week than a running back week necessarily, but some decent performances out there for running backs. Now, wide receivers, oh yeah, we had a few people go off here, man. Where we're going to make the cutoff here to talk about. All right. DeAndre Hopkins, 10 catches on 12 targets, 103 yards and a touchdown. Really nice day. DJ Moore continues to get, more involved in the scoring. He's still not the target leader, but 4 catches on 5 targets, 93 yards, 2 trips to the end zone there. And he is the touchdown guy there, it seems like, in Carolina. If he becomes the target guy also, he'll overtake Robbie Anderson for number 1. But right now, let's keep it here. A.J. Brown, 6 catches on 8 targets, 153 yards and a touchdown for Tennessee. Tyler Boyd, big game, 13 targets, caught 11 balls, 101 yards and a touchdown. Very nice. Deontay Johnson got himself back in the lineup, got himself right back to being involved before he got himself injured again, but 15 more targets for Deontay Johnson. The games that he's played and been healthy, it's an absurd amount of targets. 9 catches, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, the number 3 wide receiver on the week. There we go. Let's have the big boy performances. Davante Adams, 13 grabs, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns on 16 targets, and you're like, oh man, that's an amazing week for the best receiver on the week. Oh, no. Nah, that's not the best receiver on the week. Tyler fucking Lockett, locking it down. 15 receptions on 20 targets, 200 yards, even 3 trips to the end zone, and a whole shitload of points. Over 50 in all formats, basically. In some formats, I know I had him in one league where he got 59 with yardage bonuses. Holy shit, Tyler Lockett. That's a whole season worth of points for some of these scrub receivers, man. All right. And tight ends here, a bunch of surprising names up near the top. Harrison Bryant, the number 1 tight end on the week on the back of 2 touchdowns, 4 grabs overall, 56 yards on 5 targets. So not a huge target share, but the touchdowns were great. And with Austin Hooper probably out for another week or 2, he's super pluggable for the next week. Rob Gronkowski, big game, 8 more targets. Lots of targets coming now after the first few weeks. Caught 5 balls, 62 yards and a touchdown. Could have been a bigger game if you watched it. I think he had another opportunity at a touchdown there. Darren Waller, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown. So got himself into the end zone there, which is, the thing you want to see with Waller, right? The targets are there, but last year the touchdowns weren't, and now we're starting to get some. T.J. Hawkinson, hey, end of the game touchdown, whatever. At whatever time, I don't care if it's the first play or the last play. 5 catches, 6 targets, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Good for him. And we'll finish up with Logan Thomas. He got into the end zone there. Caught all 4 of his targets for 60 yards and a touchdown. Has a decent rapport with Kyle Allen. And, hey, just some better, quarterbacking play, is going to help all these guys, it looks like, on the Washington football squad. So, lots of big games. And, that's what happened. You have some of these top-loaded, weapons, right? So, all right, quarterbacks, granted, there were like 10 quarterbacks that scored a lot of points. So, you shouldn't have been killed at the quarterback position. The guys who played Patrick Mahomes, that sucks. You got killed for sure. Matt Ryan didn't have a good game, himself. So there were some bust performances for some of these quarterbacks that were probably played. Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, all those guys were probably played. But it was the people that played Davante Adams. You played against Tyler Lockett. You played against Jeff Wilson or James Robinson. Those guys were the guys that really put you down in that big hole. Almost nobody played against Jeff Wilson. He looked like he was started in a bare fraction of leagues, and that sucks. But it's how it is with San Francisco. You don't know who to play. Jerick McKinnon should have got more work. It's really hard to just guess what the fuck's going to happen out there in San Francisco. Next week, Tevin Coleman could have 3 touchdowns. Who the fuck knows? But so that shit is hard to predict. That's why we do this, right? Everyone has their own process that tries to predict fantasy football points. And you got to just be true to it. You got to believe it, and also not be willing to adapt, right? If you're wrong all the time, then there's something wrong with your process, right? So yeah, it's just how it is, right? All right, so let's jump into some of these Week 7 matchups. We're only going to do 6 games today. We already talked about the Thursday game on Friday, so we'll only have 13 games to talk about, and that'll leave us 6 for today and 7 for tomorrow. Sounds good, since we wanted to go over the big performances tomorrow. All right, this is a perfect place to start. You know it's an Atlanta-based show, right? So we're going to start at home with the Falcons in their home stadium, taking on the Detroit Lions, hoping, it's hard to say this is going to be a get-right game for the Falcons, but, hoping for at least a win here, right? A good performance. You expect a lot of points to be scored at least on the offensive side, and hopefully they can play good defense, right, and keep themselves in the game. But it was just a struggle to get the ball in the end zone for either team. They were both moving the ball decently throughout the game, so there were some okay, fantasy performances, but they just weren't, really throwing the ball in the end zone a lot here, so it was kind of tough. You started Stafford, 340 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. You sweated it out all day. That last-minute touchdown, just kind of got you up there where you were like, all right, great. If you have a bonus for 300 yards, you got that also in a not great game. But the point is, this is a great matchup for Stafford. It's not to say that he's not going to have big games, but, when do you play him if you don't trust him in this matchup, right? Atlanta giving up the second most passing yards per game, just about exactly what they gave up in this game. I don't know, man. It's tough. The running back situation. So I'm a little disappointed in Detroit here. Adrian Peterson continued to get more carries. He didn't do very well with them. Neither did Neander, to be fair. But I still like to see Swift getting more of the work here. So, AP, at this point, hopefully you're not starting him. It's desperation. He had 11 carries, 29 yards. Pretty brutal. Only was one pass for 1 yard. So it didn't really give you anything on the game. Now, DeAndre Swift got the ball into the end zone. So if you started him, at least you got that, right? He also was targeted 5 times. He caught the ball 4 times. Only 21 yards, right? But all right, so that's 6 points there on the receiving work. 6 points on the touchdown, 12. He had some yards, 14, almost 15 points, right? So, I'm not sure exactly where that puts him on the week, but, really not that bad. You can't be that upset with it, right? So, if you played Swift, you want to see more work, so, you're upset about it, maybe in that sense. But, I don't know. I don't think you got to be worried about it, moving forward. It should be Swift. If it's not, I know I don't really trust Matt Patricia very much, but if it's not Swift, that's a Matt Patricia problem. All right, on the outside here. So you played Kenny Golladay and you were fine. 6 catches, 114 yards, no touchdowns. You look at the other big wide receiver performances from some number ones, and you're a little jelly here, but not too much you can really do about it. But nice game, some big plays, made a couple of really great contested grabs. Kenny G's doing Kenny G things. Just got to see him get in the end zone a little bit more, but this is about what you expect. He's not a huge target guy, right? Marvin Jones, came back to, existence here for fantasy football, I guess. Caught 5 or 6 targets, 80 yards. Still not a guy you're going to play, except if you're going to try to predict those boom weeks, which there hasn't been one yet. So maybe you're feeling that he's due, and you could say that, but probably been saying that since week 4, if you're one of those guys, quite honestly. He's been due all year. Amendola. The last guy we'll talk about is T.J. Hockenson. We brought him up on the star performance of the week. 5 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. It was an okay game until that last touchdown, right? He was 4 for, 45? You certainly weren't happy with that, before that touchdown. But again, it doesn't matter when they happen, as long as they happen. And it's nice to know that, hey, in clutch, in crunch time, Stafford's looking for Hockenson. So at least that's a plus. Matt Ryan, 338 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. Basically, same exact stat line as Matt Stafford had, which wasn't great for anybody, especially with some of the big performances we had this week. You're probably going to keep playing Matt Ryan. It might be more of a matchup-based thing, but the fact is, when he has all his weapons out there and Julio is healthy, the work is there, right? You had Todd Gurley get 2 touchdowns. So, one of those could have went, the other way to Matt Ryan, and then he has a pretty good game, right? So, you're going to keep playing Matt Ryan for now. Speaking of Todd Gurley, 23 carries. Love to see the usage. 63 yards. Pretty brutal. But 2 touchdowns. And that's all you need. I mean, 2 touchdowns. I think he was the number, 3 running back on the week. So, hey, hard not to play this guy. I know it doesn't look good, but look at the running backs. Look at what's happening. This team throws the ball a lot. They throw the ball deep a lot. There are going to be goal line opportunities here, and when they are, at that point of the field, it's the Todd Gurley show. So 2 catches, 19 passes, 3 targets. It's actually not that bad. You want to see a little more work, but you're okay. Brian Hill had 3 targets, and you give 1 or 2 of those to Gurley, and you're more than happy. So Gurley's still doing good. He's still putting out. You're fine with that. And then look, it looks like Julio is the guy that makes everything happen here. It's not just him. It's just the way he draws attention from the defense, the options that Matt Ryan has. It's hard to explain it all, but everyone gets better when Julio's on the field. So Julio's the team leader in targets with 9 catches, 8 balls for 97 yards. Really nice game for Julio. Again, you just look at some of the other wide receiver ones and you're a little bit jealous, but 1 trip to the end zone, he would have had a really, really nice game, but very good game for Julio here. Calvin Ridley got the touchdown, as he often does, man. Ridley's a touchdown machine. Caught 5 of his 7 targets, 69 yards, and that touchdown. So again, outscores Julio basically on the back of that touchdown, right? It goes like he outscores him. What's that? 17.7 and 17.9. So yeah, that's outscoring him either way. All right. Russell Gage had a fine game, but it's hard to even put him in your flex, because of a consistency problem here. Caught 6 balls, 54 yards. Again, okay game, just not consistent enough. And then Hayden Hurst, who had a really nice first half, wound up with 7 targets, caught 6 balls, 68 yards. That's a fine game, for your tight end. You love to see 7 targets. Fact of the matter is, you just didn't want to see him disappear. You had your 10 points in the first half, and you're thinking, great, 15 plus points should be pretty easy for me this week, and then he only got 2 more grabs in the second half. A little disappointing there, but not trying to be greedy. He was fine. This game overall absolutely disappointed people for their expectations for points. Expected a bunch of points here. Must have been under for sure. Yeah, they scored 45 points. Had to be under by far. It is what it is. Let's go to a game that didn't go in. Let's go to a game that went way the fuck over and was awesome. Except for a few people, but overall this game was awesome. It was awesome to watch near the end. Awesome to watch both of these number 1 draft pick quarterbacks go back and forth. I think I read that first game maybe in history with 5 touchdown passes, 5 go-ahead touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. That's crazy. I mean, that means every time you looked up, every drive in the fourth quarter, the other team was taking the lead again. At the end, it got so improbable there. Just kept making it happen. Baker Mayfield, 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. Actually, looks 297 yards, just in case you get a bonus. I don't want you to think you missed out. 5 touchdowns and a pick. I'll give you 1 pick. He threw 5 touchdowns. It was like on the first play, I think, that he passed, right? And that's where OBJ got hurt. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But Baker Mayfield, great day. Against Cincinnati, I don't know. I don't feel okay about Baker Mayfield as a streamer next week. I got to dig more into it. We'll talk about it on the preview shows, but not looking at it right now as someone that I'm thinking about. There is this whole thing. You're going to hear about it all week long about, is Baker better without OBJ? And there's a lot to be said about that and a lot to be broken down. Fact is, he came in as a rookie, looked amazing. They went out, they spent the money. It wasn't just OBJ, but they went out and changed the team a lot. And it's just not working. His connection with OBJ is not there. We've talked about this many times in the past. Their completion percentage together has never been good. There's been some really good games, but just a lot of bad games. And in games without OBJ, he seems to be freer and opened up to throw wherever he wants the ball and have this huge spread, which I think is his choice. I think any given game, he wants to hit 10 different pass catchers. So we'll see what happens here going forward. That's pretty interesting. Kareem Hunt, he was fine. He got a touchdown catch. So 18 carries, 76 yards. But again, 3 receptions, 26 yards, and 1 of those 5 touchdown grabs. So his week was fine. All you needed was that touchdown. You got it. A few receptions. You get another week, I think, without Chubb. And then they have a bye. And then you'll probably see Chubb back week, 10? So, you're still going to play Kareem Hunt more than likely once Chubb comes back. It's just you're hoping, hey, let me get one more week where he's the guy. Maybe I'll get that one giant game that you haven't had yet. But we'll see. He's still playing good. He's looking good, playing good. You know what you can do. All right? Almost 20 points here. Let's talk about some of these pass catchers now that OBJ is out. OBJ went out on the first play, right? So no stat line, goose egg. Right now, I'm still in a game right now where I'm up 30 points. And I've got, Robert Woods and a defensive player, individual defensive player. And he's got Cooper Kupp and David Montgomery. And I might lose, even with, with that goose egg. It might fucking kill me. It could have played, Debo, right? And I had Juju. All these guys, man. This, if you watch the 6 list of 6 episode, OBJ was on the never again list. And that's exactly why. I just can't do this shit anymore. It's killing me. How many times, how many games I fucking lost. How many teams have been brought down by OBJ on this team. Let's hope he gets healthy. Best wishes to OBJ. Wish you nothing but the best. I want you to get healthy, and I want everyone to find a new situation for 2021 for OBJ and for Baker Mayfield. Not new in the sense of leaving. One of you has to leave. That's it. One of you's got to go. All right. In his absence, Rashard Higgins was the big man in town. 6 targets, caught all 6 of them for 110 yards. Didn't get into the end zone, so he didn't catch any of those 5 touchdown passes. But hey, he will be absolutely near the top of the waiver wire pickups. The fact is there's so many good receivers that the very, very few running backs that come out there that have value will pretty much always rise to the top of the waiver wire list, unless the immense opportunity is there. And I don't consider this an immense opportunity. Rashard Higgins may or may not be ranked in my top 40 wide receivers next week, but that's not a must pick up by any means. Landry also had 6 targets, caught 5 balls for 48 yards. Here it was all about the tight ends. I do want to bring up, though, before we talk about tight ends, Donovan Peoples-Jones. You probably saw he had that amazing game-winning touchdown catch. He's a rookie. I don't remember what, I think they said 6th round or 4th round. I don't know. He wasn't super high drafted, but obviously has some talent here. He looked great. He might be sneaky sliding into that spot here. You never know who's going to be that man that steps up. Next man up, we just don't know who the next man always is. It was Rashard Higgins right now, but they're going to regroup, enjoy this win for a day, and tomorrow get back to the playing field, get back to the practice field, and start figuring out what their offense looks like without OBJ, who is out for the season. So we'll see. And then, Harrison Bryant caught 4 of his 5 targets, 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then David Njoku caught 2 of his 3 targets for 20 yards and a touchdown. So 3 touchdowns overall went to the tight end position, which not only means great things for Austin Hooper when he comes back, it just means good things for whoever the tight ends are, at the moment. So I think absolutely Harrison Bryant, if you need a tight end for right now, is a tight end you should grab. And if you're okay at tight end, but you're interested in grabbing a second one, you have room on your bench, grab Austin Hooper. It might be great trade bait in 2 or 3 weeks for somebody else that's desperate. And also, you never know what happens. Hooper might have a big role in this offense. They paid him big money, and without OBJ, there's going to be targets to go around. So, interesting game for Cleveland. Huge win, 5-2, putting up some fantasy points. Man, fucking fun with Cleveland, man. We'll see if they brown it or they don't, right? I don't know. Are they going to do what the Browns do? Or are they going to, finally get this monkey off their back and just have a winning season, get to the playoffs, do something, right? So we'll see. Joe Burrow, huge game, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, threw an interception, also had 34 yards on the ground, and another touchdown. So 4 touchdown game for Burrow. Continues to be matchup dependent, kind of, but you see the progression every week. These young guys, and he just looks great, man. He's got a great supporting cast of receivers around him. He's missing, Joe Mixon right now. That only makes him better, hopefully, when he's back in. So, Joe Burrow is someone to look at every week, depending on the matchup. I don't think he's in any conversation as a must-start quarterback, but he's probably going to be in the conversation weekly as a streamer, for bye weeks and injuries. So, it's one of those, stay tuned and check out the matchup kind of things, right? Gio Bernard in his, not big opportunity, because we know what Gio is. He doesn't have an opportunity. He's never going to become a starter again at this point. But 13 carries, 37 yards, pretty bad on the ground, but made up for it, through the air. Caught all 5 of his targets, 59 yards and a touchdown. people that played against Gio Bernard most of the game were really happy that he was kind of busting. And then, boom, you got the touchdown and 20 points for Gio, man. 20 freaking points. So, let's see here. I don't know why I can't find the same site I was on before. Sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me because I can only do one thing at a time. I can't make them search things at the same time. All right, so Gio Bernard, pretty good game, 20 games, very happy for him, all good. Wide receivers, bunch of targets to go around here. As we said, 400 yards, over 400 yards for Joe Burrow, 47 attempts in a game that was back and forth. So you had both Tyler Boyd and A.J. Green with 13 targets each. 13! A.J. Green, it's hard to deny that he's, someone you probably want back on your roster. He was, without a doubt, probably dropped in a majority of leagues, and I'm sure I was in favor of that, as were most, people, whatever, quote-unquote, experts, whatever. But he's got to be back on your team. 13 fucking targets. He was great last week. He was good this week. Didn't get to the end zone, but 13 targets, dude. All right, let's talk about Boyd, though, first, because he did more with his 13 targets. 11 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. So, not a lot of air yards, but again, 13 targets. Got in the end zone. Tyler Boyd's looking good. So A.J. Green caught 7 of those 13 for 82 yards. No touchdowns, okay. Not a great game. He was outscored by T. Higgins, who only had 5 targets, but caught all 5 of his targets. 71 yards, but got in the end zone. And, that's going to be one of the questions on the week, right? How do you rank these teams? Or how do you rank these wide receivers on this team? For me, it's really tough. It's probably Boyd, Higgins, Green. But it's really tough, and it all depends on what you value more for your team. But I think if we're just talking about pure fantasy points at the end of the year, I think it'll be Boyd, Higgins, Green. So we'll see what happens with that prediction. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? Why can't I find it? Not rankings, leaders. Damn it. All right. Is this it? I don't know. Fucking A. 2019. All right. Maybe here. So I don't remember who we were freaking talking about before, or where they were. I was trying to find out where Gio went with his 20 yards. Number 7. So you know what? You were very happy with Gio Bernard. 7 running back on the week so far going into Monday night. Very, very happy about that. All right, so I don't know why I got stuck here. I started off, I felt like I was on fire, man. I was ready to roll. Now I'm just fucking mumbling along here. So, all right, 4 more games. Let's pick it up here. Great game here. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. The Steelers travel to Tennessee, both undefeated at the time, 5-0, and Pittsburgh leaves Music City with the win and the undefeated season intact, last undefeated team. Pittsburgh, and they can play defense. They've got weapons on offense. They have experience where it counts at coach, at quarterback, and this team is absolutely a Super Bowl contender. And I would think they would be the number 2 favorite to reach the Super Bowl in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs at this point. So, Steelers, man, you get on board. Ben Roethlisberger, not great on the road here. It was a little bit ugly at times. 268, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Got a little bad there in the second half. But really, Big Ben has not been a starter for most of the year for most people. And we know the road Ben stigma. So I don't think a lot of people played him this week anyway. But if you did, you got a little bit beat up by it. James Conner, it was an okay game. 20 carries, 82 yards. You love the volume. But Benny Snell still vultured the goal line touchdown, even though James Conner, I think he had one called back and dropped another one. But, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I know it's a game of opportunity, but it's also a game of doing something with that opportunity. So James Conner is still really good going forward. He's not in any danger of losing work. He just he loses a little bit of value because he's not getting the goal line work there. Caught 3 passes, 29 yards on 5 targets, so it's a decent amount of work for him. It's not a problem. Wide receivers here, man. This was a tough one because people all week long. That's been the story. Deontay Johnson coming back, Chase Claypool on fire, and Juju Smith-Schuster being a dumpster fire so far this year for the most part. And it was like, how are you going to rank these guys? Who are you going to play? Who do you trust? And you didn't really get many more answers after this game. What you really know is Deontay Johnson, when fully healthy, is probably going to be the target leader here. Now, he had 15 targets to Juju's 14 in this game, so they both were extraordinarily heavily targeted in this game. I get it. You know what I mean? He's wearing those two guys out, mixing in Ebron and Connor, and that was basically it, right? But let's see what they did with these catches, right? So, Juju actually led the team in yards. Those 14 targets turned into 9 catches, 85 yards. For Juju owners, if you stayed with it and kept him in your lineup, you were really happy with that this week. You were happy. You were thrilled with 14 fucking targets. Are you kidding me right now? And then just the usage and the work. 9 for 85. You would love to see him get in the end zone, but, it's just about increasing his usage. It's still not looking great, I think, for the long run because he's not getting any high-value targets, but, I don't know. It's hard going for. I wish Juju would have been awful this game. Then you could have been like, all right, I'm off of Juju finally, right? And I don't wish that for him. You know what I mean? For your fantasy teams, you like to have clarity sometimes, and that's not it. So, Deontay Johnson, however, with his 15 targets, caught 9 balls, 80 yards, but 2 touchdowns. So he got both the touchdown grabs, just about 30 points for Deontay Johnson in most formats, and that was huge. But then he left the game at the end. The injury there to Deontay, it's brutal, man. He had a great game back, and you started to get a little, just a little bit more clarity there, who's going to be the leader. And then he leaves with this ankle injury. We really haven't heard anything since, and I don't know. So let's just stay tuned. If Deontay Johnson plays, you're playing him. Juju, I think at this point, you're probably going to play again because of this performance. And then Chase Claypool caught his only target for -2 yards. And I did tell a lot of people to sit Chase Claypool this week, but I didn't know that was going to happen. That was brutal. I just thought, Deontay's back there to try to get him worked in, and that might move Claypool to the side a little bit. But damn, I don't know if that means Claypool, you're not going to play him next week. We'll look at the matchup, but Johnson's healthy, Juju's healthy. It's hard to say. Yeah, you got to play all 3 of them. And then Ebron caught 6 of 8 targets for 50 yards, and that's beautiful for a tight end. 8 targets, man. That's what you want to see. Didn't get into the end zone. This is fine, but he's going to be, in that conversation at the back end of tight ends every week. Every week. I wonder where he was for tight ends this week. Let's give it the old look-see here. What did that 6 for whatever get him? Tight end 10. So yeah, he was a tight end 1 this week. That's how tight ends are. All right, so either get the touchdown or you get the volume. If you get both, boom, you're in the top 3. All right, if you get one or the other, then you're probably in the top 12. So, Ebron, playable, not a must play. We'll go from there. All right, Ryan Tannehill, lots of people, were thinking about playing him. He's been, lights out. He was okay, 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. Definitely not, a great game by any means, but it was a workman-like game. And you put him in position to tie the game. That's all you can ask. You shouldn't have been playing him anyway against Pittsburgh, even at home. There's just better quarterbacks, better matchups out there. You could have played, really anybody, right? Has a better matchup than when you play against Pittsburgh. So, Derrick Henry, got in the end zone late, saved his game, but, was bottled up for a lot of the game. 20 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Caught 2 passes for -3 yards, but still got positive points there. And listen, this is why you have Derrick Henry. He's like, these are the floor games. Yeah, he was bottled up all game, really bad average, 20 for 75. Wasn't involved in the passing game, but still got the touchdown, still got you the points that you needed to be, worth it. And that's, that's consistency. When you have 20 carries and you are trusted by the offense, then you're going to have value. So, Derrick Henry owners assuredly have been getting, a little spoiled lately. I'm sure they weren't thrilled about this game, but you have to be realistic. Got to understand not every game is a smash fucking game for anybody ever, and that's just what it is. So Henry is great going forward. Hopefully, he just can hold up. He seems fine, but still the usage is crazy. This is low usage for Derrick Henry, 20 carries, all right, wide receivers, a little bit different outcome here for these targets here. Let's start with the target leader for the Tennessee Titans, the Corey Davis. Coming back from being out there for a game or two, 10 targets today. Caught 6 balls for 35 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, I can't imagine Davis was played very much against this team coming back. But 10 targets, it's just hard to overlook that. We'll talk a little bit more about it on our preview show later in the week, but Corey Davis is just sneaky every weekend. It's one of those plays where it's like playing chicken, where you're like, you just don't want to do it. You know what I mean? You're trying to talk yourself into it, then you're trying to talk yourself out of it, and whatever happens, it's like never the right answer. Fucking Corey Davis. All right, then you had A.J. Brown. Boom, buddy. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 153 yards, and one beautiful touchdown reception where he went, full A.J. Brown, right? Who's going to get in the way of that shit? Nobody. Fucking throw you fucking into next week. But yeah, A.J. Brown looking good again. Really strong here. Good play. You're going to have him out on your team. What do you want to say? He looked absolutely amazing. He looked so strong compared to everybody else. And then you had the big busts. If you played Jonnu Smith because he was, healthy enough to play, you were greeted with 1 catch for 9 yards. Fuck. That killed you, man. It killed one of my DFS teams, that's for sure. I had Devontae Adams and Justin Herbert. Fucking lots of points on that team. And then Jonnu Smith, and who else was it? Trying to think. There was one other person that just fucking killed me in that lineup. But you got to be perfect in those lineups here to make a lot of money. And then Anthony Ferkser. If you were saying, well, Smith is hurt, and they love the tight ends, and Ferkser had a giant game, I'm playing Ferkser. Well, guess what? That didn't fucking work out either. 2 receptions, 2 targets, 7 yards. You got nada there. So couldn't have been happy about that either. You got screwed. We're so far behind here. All right. We're going to try to get through 3 more games in 13 minutes. All right. I mean, there's no reason for us to have to do that. It's just I'm trying to keep them, under 50 minutes. I'm trying to keep them under 45. I guess I'm just blabbing a lot today. Whatever. We'll go to a fucking hour if we want. I don't give a shit. All 9 viewers can just tell me that I went too long. Suck it. No. All right. Teddy Bridgewater. All right. Where are we at? I didn't even tell you what game we're at. Carolina Panthers travel to New Orleans. Take on the Saints. Divisional game here. Means a lot in the division. Trying to keep up with the Saints and the Bucks here. And Carolina almost came through. New Orleans wins 27-24. And yeah, without Michael Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders, Breeze was still able to get it done, get the win. Nice clutch game for the veteran and, first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's start with Carolina here, though, first. Teddy Bridgewater, not a bad game on the road. 254 yards and a couple of touchdowns. No interceptions. 10 yards on the ground. Listen, it's hard to complain about that, right? What's that, 22, 23 points on the road in a tough matchup? I mean, it's really not bad. Where's Teddy on the week here? Right outside quarterback 1, quarterback number 13, it looks like, depending on your scoring format. And really, really not bad on the week. So, again, can't imagine a lot of people played him, but it is what it is. Mike Davis continued to suck this week, quite honestly. 7 carries, 12 yards. Fuck. And caught all 5 of his passes for 24 yards. Thank goodness. Or it would have been, a couple of point game, as it were. At least you approached 10 points. You were getting near 10 points, but it still hurts you, obviously, with McCaffrey inevitably coming back any time, and Mike Davis having 2 bad weeks in a row. It's absolutely on the table that you might be sitting Mike Davis next week. Just depends, but we'll look at it. But I don't know, man. That fucking hurts. So Mike Davis was brutally bad for your team. And then, listen, the receivers that you've been playing that I've been telling you to play, they were both good. So let's go to the target leader again, was Robbie Anderson. Caught 6 balls for 74 yards. Continues to be very involved. The problem is the lack of touchdowns. And there's only been the 1 touchdown. It was the very long, kind of touchdown you cannot really expect in the beginning of the season. So you still have to see the usage, but he can't really move above wide receiver 3 ranking without touchdowns. Now, DJ Moore, right, he caught 4 of his 5 targets for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, big game. And while he wasn't anywhere near the target leader, he was the value target guy, making big plays down the field. DJ Moore is, coming back, man. And, while Anderson's getting more targets, Moore will be higher ranked in my rankings next week because of the touchdown potential. I do want to bring up Curtis Samuel because he actually was second on the team in targets with 6. caught them all for 48 yards, so I understand these are very low value targets. He also ran a touchdown in. So they gave him the ball close, and that's not something you can predict again, of course, especially when McCaffrey comes back. I'm just saying, all right? I'm just saying. And just like every week, tight end is a non-factor in Carolina. So we'll just move right along to New Orleans. Drew Brees, 287 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns, but also added one of his patented silly fucking jump over the pile and pull it back moves, which he almost fucked it up, by the way. Instead of keep going for it, I thought it was short. It must have been like a fucking an inch over the line there on that review. But either way, I hate that shit. You know I hate that crap. So thank goodness I didn't get Taysom Hill that involved. That always bothers me too. It wasn't really a big problem. He was targeted once out of the backfield. He ran the ball once and he threw the ball once. And all that's one too many times, but I don't care. That's fine. Alvin Kamara, very, continues to be, really involved in the passing game, and that's what makes him great even when he doesn't score. 14 carries, 83 yards, so great clip, just about 6 yards a carry, but obviously no touchdown hurts there. But then you get 8 receptions. You catch all 8 targets, 65 yards, 14 more points through the air. You're, again, over 20 points, and without a touchdown, you're still able to bring yourself, into the top, into the top scorers. It's got to be PPR. Number three in PPR without a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jeff Wilson at number 1 had 3 touchdowns. James Robinson at number 2 had 2 touchdowns. Todd Gurley at 4 had 2 touchdowns. Chase Edmonds, I think, scored. Right? So he's the only guy that really just puts up that much work. Just that much work that he can get there, without the touchdowns. Latavius Murray, I love his name. 11 for 47. 1 catch for 9 yards. If you play Latavius Murray, thinking that maybe with the wide receivers out, he get more work. It continues to be insurance only. Hard to play him, while Kamara's on the field. So you really can't do that. And then the biggest question mark here: who was going to catch the passes with both Thomas and Sanders out? Most people would have said Tre'Quan Smith. I thought he had the biggest opportunity. Of course, you're going to get a big bump for the running backs, and maybe a little bit of a bump for Jared Cook, which you really didn't see for Jared Cook. But then it was Marquez Callaway. Now listen, he flashed one game earlier, and really he should have been on people's radar, should have been on my radar. And I missed that. I went right through the cracks, man. 10 targets, caught 8 balls for 75 yards. Beautiful game. Got to see who's in next week. Sanders and Thomas are in, though. Callaway's, it's not even a conversation. This is just happened because of the opportunity. Tre'Quan Smith, relatively squandered his opportunity. Did nothing in the first half. Then caught 4 balls, 54 yards. So at least if you played him, listen, you got almost 10 points, all right? And he should have been your flex or your wide receiver 3. So he didn't kill you, and that's just the truth. It was very disappointing, but, hey, you got to keep things in perspective in fantasy football. And the fact is, he was, almost 10 points. There were bigger name receivers that got you less than that, right? So let's just be honest here. So hey, just got to keep you in line. Just got to keep you in line. Jared Cook. Hey, I was telling somebody right before the game, they were like, do I play Cook or I don't remember who the fuck else it was. And I was like, you play Cook because he's going to score a touchdown, right? And then he scores a touchdown. Only targeted 4 times, a little disappointing, but caught 3 balls, 32 yards, and the touchdown. So in his first game back in action. So the fact that he didn't see an uptick is a little disappointing, but he's never really been super high volume in this offense anyway, or high volume in any way. It's really just been about the touchdown potential, and he got one in, so that's what it is. Oh, this game won't take long. Good, we need one to be quick. Fucking Bills travel to Jersey to take on the New York Jets. Put in 6 field goals and win the game 18-10. Holy fugly fucking game. Josh Allen. Again, I know people want to say it was like the worst game ever. He didn't score a touchdown. I understand that. 307 yards through the air and 61 yards on the ground. Over 18 points. Again, he didn't kill you. He scored a lot more than Patrick Mahomes did. Right? I mean, let's go look at the quarterbacks here. Just want to put it in perspective again. Yeah, I know he wasn't good. So Josh Allen, all right, they say number 19, they say. But yeah, ahead of Ben Roethlisberger, ahead of Patrick Mahomes. And really, depending on the format, I mean, he was right there with, Matt Ryan, right there with Matt Stafford, basically. So listen, it wasn't that bad. It's just, I know, you were expecting a big week in a big position. You didn't get it. Running backs continue to be unplayable in Buffalo. I said not to play either of them, and that was certainly the right call here. Moss had 7 carries, Singletary had 8. Moss was much better than his, 6.7 yards a carry to 3.6 for Singletary. And he was also better with his receptions. Well, they were about even with their yards per carry, but Singletary only caught 2 of his 5 targets. Moss caught 3 of 3. So, I don't know what the problem is here. I don't know if it's the individual players, the scheme, or the offensive line is just geared towards, pass protection and not run blocking. But, man, they cannot run the fucking ball, planned runs with the running back with any efficiency. Not playing either of them. I expect Zach Moss to have more carries than Singletary next week, and we'll see if that happens. Let's go to the outside here. Stephon Diggs. Oh, no, let's just start where we really should start. The number 1 receiver on the game, Cole Beasley. 12 targets, 11 receptions, 112 yards. I don't think this is only if John Brown is out kind of a thing. John Brown was not targeted in this game. I don't even know if he fucking played. But I don't know if this is only about John Brown. Cole Beasley is very safe. He's got that, he's just open all the time underneath. And Josh Allen, as he starts struggling a little bit more to get the ball downfield, he can find Cole Beasley all the time. He's in PPR or half PPR. He's definitely a guy that can play in your flex on a week-to-week basis. And if you're thinking about Cole Beasley over some scrub running back because you're desperate in your flex position, it should pretty much always be Cole Beasley. Stephon Diggs, 11 targets, 6 catches, 48 yards. Listen, disappointing game for Diggs. I get that, but he still scored over 10 points, had 11 targets, didn't make the connection happen. You pick up your shit, you move on. Stephon Diggs is fine. And that was really it for pass catchers. I mean, you had Tyler Kroft, tight end, caught all 4 of his targets for 64 yards, so it was a nice game for him. But I think we had all the other tight ends for Buffalo out, including Dawson Knox. So, no, Tyler Kroft is not a streamer or a waiver for tight end. Nope. And then Jets didn't do shit, which you should have expected. I mean, Sam Darnold, 120 yards through the air, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The bigger story was on the ground. Frank Gore and LaMichael Pirine split carries, 11 carries each, and then Pirine had 3 targets to 0 for Frank Gore. So expect that to be better going forward for Pirine. He will have more touches. He should have more touches. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Why not see what you have? He scored a rushing touchdown this week, so he had more points. The guy scored like 14 PPR points, almost 15 PPR points. And I have one league where he will probably be in my lineup next week. I lost Kenyon Drake. Can't imagine I'm going to find anything better on the waiver wire. Austin Eckler still on IR. I'm fucking running back starved in that league. And I will start LaMichael Pirine. And I should hope he gets 15 carries next week to Frank Gore's 7 or 8. And hopefully they play a little better against a defense that's not as strong as Buffalo. But that's the only takeaway here is that LaMichael Pirine can be played more than likely next week. Depends on who you have. Again, with 120 yards passing and no touchdowns, not a lot to talk about for the receivers here. But we do want to bring up something optimistic here was that the rookie, Denzel Mims, in his first action was targeted 7 times, caught 4 passes, 42 yards. And hey, again, you're not going out there to get him because the offense is that bad. Just saying, just want to bring up something good. Jameson Crowder was not in this game. Rashad Perriman left the game, concussion protocol. Chris Herndon did nothing again. The worst play ever, Chris Herndon. People that thought he was going to be good before the year, that was the worst call, I think, of fantasy football all year. Not that a lot of people thought he was going to be great. I'm just saying. And there's a lot bigger names. But, he's been brutal. Not that you had to pay for him. All right, fine, whatever. Just saying. If you thought he was good, you suck. No. All right. Oh, shit. This one's not going to take too long either. So, last game of the day here. Dallas Cowboys travel to Washington and get beat down by the football team 25-3. Andy Dalton took that bullshit hit from Joey Bostic. Bostic got disqualified. Dalton got knocked out after starting like shit anyway. 9 of 19, 75 yards, and a pick. Not like he was playing really well, but he gets knocked out. Ben DiNucci has to fill in for him. 2 of 3 for 39 yards. I think he completed his first pass to Cooper, so I don't know what he did after that. Either way, Dallas is fucking terrible. Their defense is really bad. Their offensive line is really, really bad. Their coaching doesn't seem to be much better. I don't know, man. But either way, play all your people against Dallas whenever they're going to play again. So, the bigger story was Zeke. 12 carries, 45 yards. His offense can't do anything, so Zeke can't do anything either, right? He had 2 targets. He caught 1 for 6 yards. I know. It's going to be better next week, whether it's DiNucci, they're going to get something into the game. Yeah, they're going to work him in and blah, 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 blah. And people are saying that Zeke Elliott's still a top 6 running back. He is, in reality, for fantasy football, without Andy Dalton in, if Dalton misses a couple weeks, or, even with Dalton in, I don't think he's a top 6. I think he's a top 12. Probably closer to number 9 or number 10 for me for the rest of the season. Let's go to the outside here. Cooper, only guy that was viable, 7 targets, caught them all for 80 yards, a lot of that in the fourth quarter in garbage time. So he was pretty much, useless until garbage time. CeeDee Lamb caught 0 of 5 targets. Michael Gallup, 0 of 2 targets. We'll talk about it in preview show, but it's getting pretty fugly in Dallas, man. All right, Washington football team, Kyle Allen, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't have to do much. They were running all over the Cowboys all game. The game was never close. Dallas wasn't scoring. Washington only put up 3 points in the second half. I think they just kind of took their foot off the gas pedal there. Not that you should do that. You should rub it down your fucking throat and get your guys off here. But Kyle Allen, he's not a streamer going forward, but he is making the rest of the team and the rest of the guys better. That's what you want to see, and that's what we want to talk about. So, Antonio Gibson, coming out party. Welcome to the show, bitches. 20 carries, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Not involved at all in the passing game. Didn't catch his only target, but 6.5 yards a clip. Touchdown. Got the bulk of the work. All that good stuff. They ran the ball a shitload this time, though. He had 20 carries, so you feel like, he had all the carries. No. Peyton Barber had 10, but mostly in cleanup time. McKissick had 5. The problem was that he thought McKissick was going to be too involved in the passing game, but he really wasn't. Didn't throw the ball a lot at all. He caught both of his targets for 16 yards. So if you played McKissick thinking that you had the PPR play there, that didn't work out. He busted for you. I probably had him down as a very low-end running back 3 based on the receptions alone, and he didn't have them, so that sucked. It sucks if you played McKissick, but I think Gibson, this is Gibson's show going forward. It should be in every facet of the game. You just see the plays this kid makes, but we'll see what they do. Let's go to the outside here. So we've got Terry McLaurin was the only guy really of use catching the ball for wide receivers. Caught 7 of 11 targets, 90 yards and a touchdown. Continues to be a beast with volume, with playmaking ability. I talk about it every week. He's essentially matchup proof. He's quarterback proof. He's cornerback proof. You're playing Terry McLaurin. Guy's a fucking beast. And Logan Thomas, the tight end, caught all 4 of his targets, as I mentioned earlier, 60 yards and a touchdown. He's playable as a very, very low-end tight end 1 with touchdown upside on a weekly basis. But, that's a dart throw every week, just as are many tight ends. So, all right, that's going to do it. We're a little over, but not too bad. Reined it in a little bit here. Thanks for joining us, folks. Listen, we got a great game tonight. Enjoy your Bears and Rams matchup on Monday night. I hope you get your wins. May the odds forever be in your favor. Have a great day, y'all. Thanks for joining us on The GOAT. Find us on Twitter, YouTube, like, subscribe, share the page. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, all that good stuff, we're available. You can find us anywhere. Find us there. Have a good one. Take it easy. Thanks a lot. See you next time.